All right, so Dimsadama, for those that maybe came in a little bit later, my name is Erica Williams. My traditional name is Achgot. I'm from Gitwangach, and I'm the operations director for the Wilpdamat Nikayik Primary Care Center, and we are ready to start our business, so I will hand it over, or sorry, we'll go to the first slide and just go and do an overview of what we are getting into today. So our agenda is to do our First Nations-led primary care initiative overview, including our service delivery model, the background on our primary care project, and our project framework. Then we'll get into the Wilpdamat Nikayik program update, our design and construction update, and we'll have time for open discussions and comments, and then we'll complete our FNPCI projects. So with that, I'll hand it over to our Northern Region Primary Care Manager, Lindsay Larson.
So, good. Okay. Turn up the good knob. Yeah. Yeah. So. Okay, perfect. So good evening, everyone. As Erica mentioned, I'm Lindsay Larson, and I'm the Regional Manager of Primary Care for the First Nations Health Authority in the Northern Region. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the First Nations Primary Care Initiative. So essentially, our model that's allowing us to do the great work that we've been able to do with the Wilpdamat Nikayik Clinic. So essentially, our initiative, the First Nations-led Primary Care Initiative, it's a partnership between the Ministry of Health and the First Nations Health Authority. So as funding partners, and we've come together to create a model that's really based on our primary care plus model that's driven by community and developed by leadership in terms of a holistic model of care that's team-based care that incorporates traditional ways of knowing, two-eyed seeing, and traditional and holistic wellness, as well as clinical wellness. So the core aspects of our First Nations Primary Care Initiative is that it is led by First Nations, and this is the keystone aspect to the First Nations Primary Care Initiative, and that it provides access to culturally safe, quality primary care services for First Nations persons and their family, and that Indigenous ways of knowing are like a keystone and a cornerstone of the work that we're doing. And so you'll see that when Erica speaks to the staff complement and the team-based model of care that Wilpdamat Nikayik has, and it's really through the partnerships that we have with our working group, our steering committee, as you saw with Bev and Tammy being co-chairs. It's led by the nations, and our model is led by nations, and so this is really our cornerstone in our work. And ultimately, too, it's to bring primary care services closer to home. So, you know, there's less travel, and that we're not in acute situations. We're not going to emerge just to see a doctor. We have a doctor or a number of doctors that are able to wrap around communities and be in communities providing services. And yeah, so just really excited about this work and wanted to let you know a little bit about the initiative. There are 3 in the Northern Region. So one, Wilpdamat Nikayik here in Gitsan Territory, also serving Wet'suwet'en persons as well and their family members. And then we have Mayo Machewe Gamek, which is in Chetwynd in Treaty 8 Territory. And then we also have the Dadzi Wellness Center serving the Dekalth peoples in Fort St. James. So yeah, these are pilot sites. We hope to expand, but this is really just really innovative model of care that is really led by the communities. And so really excited that you're all here today to go on this journey with us. So thank you. The slide that I should have been speaking to, but yeah, that's what it is.
All right. Oh, so it's a little bit loud. Sorry. So our full staffing complement is on the screen here. It's a little bit hard to see. I apologize for that. But we have a number of different kind of sectors on what our staffing will look like. Some of them are family practitioners, which are family doctors. Nursing, including registered nurse and licensed practical nurse, our dietitian, occupational therapist, pharmacist, mental health professionals, Indigenous navigators, elder health advisors, social supports, mental health professional, operations director, medical director, clinical manager, and medical office assistants. Next slide. So for our Wilptamont Nikayik primary care program update, for those that maybe don't know the translation of Wilptamont in Simalga translates into the House of Healing. In our own Simalgach language, and in Wet'suwet'en, Nekayik is also House of Healing. So because we serve our 6 Gitsan and 2 Wet'suwet'en communities of Hegwilget and Witset, we are recognizing both languages. So our governance is constructed of we are interim operated by First Nations Health Authority, which means they hold our funding pots, and we work internally with all of the supports from central and regional teams. We do plan on becoming a society over the next 3 years, so we'll be operated independently away from First Nations Health Authority. Our working group consists of our health partners, which are each of our chief and councils from all 8 communities, our health leads, the Ministry of Health, the Doctors of BC, and the Hazelton chapter of Rural and Remote Family Practice, who we've all come together since around 2018, 2019 to create what the primary care, First Nations-led primary care centers will look like. And our development group consists of our health directors from each of our communities, along with our community, our health directors from each community, and our FNHA partners, which include health infrastructure, IMIT, clinical, allied health supports. There's so many other little nuts and bolt pieces that help us create this structure. So our current team, we have 8 people on our team now, and that consists of myself as the operations director. Our medical director is Dr. Kent Easley. We have alongside him is 2 family practitioners, Dr. Reina and Dr. Jaffer. We're very, very lucky that we've been able to have them come over and work with us. They're fabulous doctors. We have our clinical manager, Marina Bouchard. She's unfortunately fell ill today, so she couldn't be with us, but I'm sure everyone maybe has already had a chance to meet her if you've seen her in clinic out here in Anspayoch or in our other communities, but there'll be a lot of other opportunities to meet her. We have a registered clinical counselor, a registered nurse, and our patient navigator. And next slide. Right now we're also recruiting in these positions. We're recruiting an additional registered clinical counselor. We're recruiting 2 medical office assistants, a social worker, a second wellness navigator, dietitian, and occupational therapist. And what's coming up for us next in our program planning development is working on our traditional wellness service delivery plan, which will be a very intensive, thought-out service delivery planning part of what we're going to offer, because we want to offer traditional wellness services alongside of our Western medicine and mental health services. Okay, and our current service delivery is we have doctors' clinics in 3 communities right now. Mondays they're in Gitwangach, Tuesdays they're out here in Anspayoch, and Wednesdays they're in Gitniao. So we do have plans to expand to be in the other communities as our patient attachments increase and our doctors settle into their routines and programs. And also we are planning on adding more days.
Can I get oops, that is loud. Sorry, folks. There's a lot of background noise, and it's really disrupting the folks in the front that are trying to listen to the presentation. So if everyone in the back who are engaging in great conversation, can you just turn it down a few notches? That would be appreciated. Thanks.
Yeah, so we do have plans to expand in the very near future. We are working on attaching new patients, so if you are looking for a family doctor, we're able to help you with that in any of the 3 communities. So if you do need to see a doctor that's maybe not on the day that they're here in Anspayoch, you can go to the Gitwangak Clinic or the Gitniao Clinic, and then we plan on expanding to more communities as time goes on. We do have our primary care nurse, Kanisha. She's on annual leave right now, so she wasn't able to join us either, but she's starting to be more engaged and active in community, doing presentations and education sessions. She's also able to do immunizations, and she'll be doing STI testing soon. She's taking training for OAT training. She's able to assist with that also. We have our wonderful navigator, Tanya, who's also able to assist if people have trouble or barriers accessing support services in the health, any kind of the health system. She's able to help with that. And we have a project with a student, EMR chart transfer project that we've gotten a young Gitsan Summer Hillis to help us transfer paper charts to our EMR charts in some of our communities. So that's been a pretty amazing little project we've had with Summer. Okay, and that's it for my portion. I'll hand it over to Sean.
Hey everyone, how you doing? My name's Sean. I am the construction project manager of the FNPCI. I just wanted to go over the project delivery process that we have here. As we currently stand, you see in the yellow highlight, we are in the design phase. We are about 3.5 months away from finishing our design in May of 2026. Oh, sorry. So in May of 2026, we're going to be tendering this project out to general contractor, in which we will put them on a contract, and we hope to mobilize construction in June or July of 2026, and finish 1 year later in the summer of 2027. So that's our goal. We're aiming for about a year and 5 months, year and a half from now in the summer of next year. Another big part of this project delivery process with occupying this space is that we want to fill the space with local artwork, photography, any artists or local people that know of people that are willing to put forward artwork, photography, or we'd be willing to put that and pay for those pieces to go in the facility. So if anyone has any contacts, we'd be glad to take those people and work with them. And also another big part of this is that we are procuring all the medical equipment, all the furniture, everything. We have it a turnkey facility. It's ready to be used once construction is complete. We just got to get Erica's team in there, and operations can begin. Yeah. Oh, another thing, didn't want to forget, we're going to be doing a refresh on the exterior of the building. So let me go to the next slide here. Oh, that's the next slide. Yeah, sorry. So our confirmed project location is at 4265 Field Street. It's many of you may know, it's the Inlander grocery, or used to be the Inlander grocery store. And we are working just on the Inlander building. The pub side is separate, but we are in the about 4,700 square feet on the main floor. We are going to be keeping the exterior of the building the way it is, but giving it a refresh, as in updating or upgrading the fascia, the soffits, and the awning, giving the building a fresh paint. And we'll be updating the sign as well, and taking the wagon down from the top of the building. So there'll be a new signage outside of the front of the building. We don't know what the design exactly looks like yet for the signage, but yeah, we'll have an idea pretty soon. If you guys have any ideas for design, we'll be willing to take a look at that if anyone has any artwork or anything. So that's the location. I was going to ask Kyle to come up here, and maybe he wants to speak about the floor plan that he's designed with his team. Based on the recommendation of the working group, this is the design that they've come up with Stantec. So I'm just going to pass the mic over to Kyle, and he can.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here. So, yeah, I'm an architect, and my role here is I've been hired by FNHA to basically put together the puzzle pieces for now. So if you can just go back to the program, there was a list of the functional program, kind of. I just want to back a bit further. There. So this is basically the list. This is the function that we're trying to fit into a building, right? So these are the requirements that we're trying to meet. Like, what are we trying to do with this building? And this is kind of the functional program, what we are trying to fit into the building to serve the community. And then, like Sean said, we found a building that will meet our needs, and then we take an approximate square footage for each of these functions. And it's like a puzzle. We try to fit the program into the building. And so we've put together these plans here, and there's a couple in the back, and there's one here. You can go back to that slide there, Sean. And basically, we've fit the program into the space to make sure that everything will fit. And then that's kind of the easy part, and that's kind of where we're at right now. And then the harder part is, how do you feel when you come into that space? It needs to be your space. And that's kind of the intangible. That's not something you just draw on a set of drawings. So I've seen different projects like this where the community has input, and those spaces are much richer, and they are your space because you provide input on them. So that's kind of where we're at now, is we're trying to, our next phase will be to get input from the community on You know, I look around even this space, like all this artwork, this space wouldn't be nearly as nice without all this artwork, right? So we've got the program, we've got the building, we've kind of put the puzzle pieces together, and the next phase will be to get the community input to make this your space. The way the plan is laid out is basically on the right side, facing Field Street, is the public space. There's a community area, there's a kitchen, there's the traditional healing rooms, so all of the more public spaces that anybody can come into and feel welcome are facing the front street on Field Street on the left side, sorry, on the right side. There's a kitchen, yeah. And then on the left side, at the back of the building, is more of the staff spaces. So the staff have their own offices and stuff. And then in the middle, that's where the two come together, where the services are provided from the community to the staff. So it's like you had in the program, there's those different colors, right? There's community spaces, and then there's staff spaces, and then it all comes together. And that's kind of the intangible parts that we're working on right now. So we definitely look forward to the community engagement on this. Thank you.
Just wanted to open it up for any questions and comments or remarks. Mark? Oh, 1 second. We got to give you the mic. Yeah.
I was going to say that Gittimax paid me to be the heckler in the back, but I'm not going to do it. I was just curious as to how long it's going to take, and I think you went quickly through it. What are like the big milestone phases of the project?
So just going back to answer the question from Mark about the milestones of the project. So main milestones were feasibility, which was done in the last year and a half. So we had assessed the property, we had assessed the location, and we came to the conclusion with the health leads that this location would be the most appropriate for the communities. There was an investigation into the building, just looking at how it would meet our needs, the space. Like Kyle was saying, we have a program with the number of staff that work there. We have 17 staff, and to fit that program, we have to fit in the 17 staff. So we have it's a type of estimator tool. I don't have it on me right now, but it manages to fit each employee, will have a certain square footage and a certain space that they work in, like an exam room for a doctor, and then maybe that gets 150 square foot for a doctor with an exam room, right? So you take all the staff, you put them together, and you can come up with an estimate like that. In terms of the design stage, where was that? As the next milestone Mark was asking about. During the design stage, we've come up initially with this, the floor plan, and it's a collaborative approach. We have, let's say we have the clinical services, we have the mental health, we have traditional wellness, and we space these out throughout the schematic in different sections. So clinical is on the top side, very top of the floor plan. On the bottom is the mental health area of the clinic. In the also traditional on the bottom side, and then in the middle area is the administrative and the we have a lab, a medical room, a storage room, a laundry room, and janitorial. Right. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. We also had this is our third or fourth, this might be our fourth revision of the floor plan that we did. We had multiple floor plans before this, but we went through multiple, maybe about 5 or 6 different meetings to come to this layout. So we had rooms moving around, you know, exam rooms were up there, mental health was down there. So we've shifted everything around to meet everyone's kind of, best to meet everyone's needs. And we thought the flow of the space would work well for everyone.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it was a really collaborative approach. Ooh. Yeah, too much power there. It was a very collaborative approach, and the reason why the revisions did take time was because it was about us listening to our steering committee, listening to our health leadership, and coming together to find a model that would work based on the expertise of our leadership. And so, you know, as they say, like, good work takes time, and so also just want to thank all of the participants in our steering committee for guiding us in this work. You heard from the co-chairs earlier. They've been part of this work. Erica, before she was operations director, was also part of this work as part of the steering committee. And it's you know, 7 years in the making now. So our health infrastructure team has been there along with us, and as well as Stantec, and this is all of us coming together with the subject expertise that everybody has to come up with a model that best reflects Gitsan and Wet'suwet'en wellness. So. Oh, got a question?
Both mics.
I live here in Kitzbühel, and we're very glad to be here, and we're very glad to have you doing a presentation on high-techs. Who is the high-tech that put this together? And we are the people of the community supposed to know who the architect is. And the inside of the building doesn't matter. What is more important to the Aboriginal people is connecting them to what the land looks like, the landscape. That is very, very important. I wouldn't want to walk into a place just because there's a hot dog in there. I would like to know what I'd be getting inside. But the inside of buildings are the architect's job. And who is the architect? You got to let us know who the architect is. And like I said, us Aboriginal people, we do connect to the land. And the land is our language. So we got to talk to whatever we approach, and hopefully that it would give us the confidence to what we needed to go into by looking at it from the outside. That's what I would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a great comment. And, you know, that's why we're here in person and we're not doing some conference call. We have to be here. I am an architect, but I would say that I'm not the architect who designed this, because we've been having many meetings with lots of input from other people within the different community groups, within elders. We've had a number of meetings over the last year. I agree that, you know, you have to be there to understand it. And the first time I came here, I was amazed how beautiful this place is. Today at lunch, I was walking along the river there. It's just a beautiful space. And I think all of us realize that this is a very valuable location. And, you know, we've been trying very hard to find a way to make this building work for the community, because I think it is a very valuable location. All the buses come there. I don't think, you know, I will never totally understand it the way you do understand it, because you live here. But that's why we need your input in this next phase to make this yours. So I really appreciate your comment, and we really need the engagement from the community. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just add, there's a couple other aspects to the project. One is the FNPCI project. The funding is designed to provide operating dollars and to pay for a lease and the fit up of space. But it doesn't have the funding to build a brand new building. And we were very fortunate to come across the Inlander building, which is owned by this community. And so with that, there's also a responsibility as the owners of the building to look after certain parts of the project. And there has been very, I would say, genuine, good negotiations with the negotiators for Kispiox First Nation on what those responsibilities are, the order of magnitude of the costs as the owner of the building that they're going to spend on the building. So it is like there's part of the project that is a responsibility of the project team, and then there's another responsibility for the Kispiox Development Corporation on the actual exterior, and I would say what we commonly refer to as the owner's responsibility of the building. But the project team is working, I think it's working fairly well as one group to try and address all those issues, to make sure at the end of the day the building does capture the vision, the needs, and the cultural aspects that are important to this community as well as the other two communities. So I don't know if that answers everything, but it is a little bit of a unique type of project.
I'd like to thank you guys for coming out and giving us an info of what's happening. And I seen the picture up there of the two doctors. They're my two doctors. I just met them this year because my doctor, Dr. Bergstra, I'm not sure if he's doing administration, I'm not sure, but I had to find another doctor, and I'm lucky to have those two. But I'm doing a lot of tests with cancer because cancer runs in my family. And this morning I got a phone call that one of my brothers is cancer-free. And my sister's just going through it now. She's got stomach cancer, eh? She's down to about 100 pounds now. And that is very scary because I know where the health issues come from. A mother or father. Cancer comes from my father. High blood pressure comes from my mom. But when I was looking at the outline, I'm not an architect, but blueprint they call it? Okay. But that building's older than me. So, and that's pretty old. And I was just wondering, that wagon up there, we circled that wagon. Guess, yeah, 1969, I was 12. And I have the tire over here, if you guys want to buy it. The wood is still in good shape, it's varnished. But I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. It's very important for us to learn and just to get input of what's happening. Thank you. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Kay Wilson. I'm a Kispiox band member. And I'm really excited about this new building that's going to be going up. And yeah, I want to thank you guys for coming, taking the time to come here and give us some good information that we need. This is the first time I've come to this one anyway. I had no idea we were getting a new building. Too bad it wasn't going to be in Kispiox. Hey, Kispiox is growing. We got lots of room up by across from the gas bar. Yeah, and lots of room by the school. Another thing I was really thinking about, someday, like I'm an ex long-term care nurse, and with this community, lots of our people are getting older, like Margaret Stevens, you know, lots of older people. I was thinking, geez, it would be super nice if we had our own little long-term care unit hospital where you have 2 staff, you can bathe your people that can't bathe themselves, you can hoist them in. So that was what I was wishing to dream for, just because I like taking care of the old folks. I've been doing it right out of 2005 is when I graduated in long-term care. I graduated top 5th of the class of 22, and then and I did my training in Hazelton Rinse Hospital, and I worked with all kinds of patients, clients that had huge hernias, and clients that were in a coma, young man was hurt in a car accident, and then people with just generally dementia that wander off and forget who you are, and you know, and you got to watch them closely. One of my clients that I took care of over 15 years is in extended care in Hazelton because he has dementia so bad that he forgets to lock the door, or he rolls down the stairs and falls down in the sun, trips, and then he's laying in the sun for 2 hours. Almost had a heat stroke. So family came together and we put him in long-term care. Oh, sorry. Am I talking too long? This is my beautiful daughter, Melody, and she's a dental hygienist. Help her. What do you call it? Oh, co-high aid, or whatever that is. All righty. Well, anyways, thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing our new building. Amaya.
I just wanted to respond to the gentleman there. So I love hearing those stories about the building. And you know, the first time I came here about a year ago and looked at that building, I realized that it has a long history. We looked at the photos of the fire. It used to be a motel with multiple stories and a breezeway. And I mean, you know the whole history of that building. It would be so much easier to just build a new building somewhere and put our program into it, right? But it's not the same thing. That building has meaning probably for the community. It has a history. And when I looked around at all the other old buildings around that building, it's not easy to maintain old buildings. There's a lot of effort that's gone into that community to maintain it. And that's what gives it the character. So I'm really glad that there's these stories, and we've been trying really hard to, you know, recognize the history of that building. And this is, I think, a good way to continue the history of the building. Thank you.
Amayuhsa. My name is Elaine Ridsdale, and I work at Ansbach Academy. It's an adult learning center. I wanted to let everyone here know, and if you know of anyone, we currently have a healthcare assistant course that we're offering, and we still have spots available, so you can contact Liz or Aaron or myself or Scott. And I'm really excited too about this plan that's being carried out. It's amazing to have our people looked after and have their needs met. My husband, he has a spinal cord injury, and we've been battling to get his healthcare coverage activated. So if there's any one of you that can help me with that, I'd really appreciate it. But as far as a healthcare assistant course, I want to say first or second week of March it'll be starting. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to stand up. I don't want to stand up. Elder James Wae Wilps Luz Wilsawit Wilakabu Padegi. There's so many different things that come to mind when I think about this primary care program, and you're saying, Erica, that it's been 7 years in the making. I don't know where I was, 7 years ago, but, just, I'm all about budgets and numbers, and I want to know, we have our health buildings in our communities right now. How much is being taken away from those with FNHA dollars to go and support primary care? And I ask that in the most respectful manner. I don't want to appear rude, and if I am, I apologize. Because, there's such limited resources, and they, like I just finished doing double hip replacement, and I couldn't even recover in my own home. I had to go 12 hours and have my husband and my daughters look after me. Only thing that I was offered, was, oh, we can come and put some ointment on you. And I thought to myself, well, what about, eating? What about, physiotherapy? There wasn't very many services that were being offered. And because I wanted the surgery, I went from seeing the physiotherapist once a week to once a month. And I was, what she said was, I'm trying to remember the term, it'll come to me. But, it costs money, like the engineer said, to build this building, and then to give that old building a facelift. Yeah, it has meaning, in the pioneer days, but not too much for, Gitsan. At least I don't think so. That's my own personal view. I want to know, what are the budgets? I look at your guys' team that you guys have up there. There's no names to any of those positions. I'm more of a visual learner, and I know a lot of Indigenous people are visual learners as well. So having, all of the staff and everything, having a picture and a name. I know that I went into Glenville Health Center, and it was really nice, as I was standing there waiting, I can't remember for what, but I was standing in the waiting room waiting, and they had, this on the screen, they had their mission statement, they had their vision statement, they had all of this going through just, continually, and then it was talking about who was on their staff, their pictures, their names, and I just went, and I sat there and I looked and I went, I like that. I love it. I know who I can call if ever, I have somebody that I need to call in Glenville, who works for Glenville Health. Just wonderful, but like I said, nice, fancy names for all of these positions, for the staff, but we need names and pictures, you know, and then that way we know who are actually, you know, running the show. I know Erica up there because I see her in a feast hall. Yeah. And the other thing was, right now, you know, there's a big drug crisis. Everybody is, you know, been probably in this room has been touched by somebody who has died of a drug overdose. Right now, Kispiox has 2 people, you know, that are counselors, a mental health clinician and, you know, the harm reduction. They work with FNHA. They're contracted with FNHA to provide services in Kispiox here. I want to know, like, without mentioning names, you know, and for confidentiality, you know, why is it that, you know, that they don't have the authority to be able to, what's the word, expedite? When there's somebody who's in major serious crisis and needs to go and can't wait 3 weeks to go to a treatment center, but needs to go now and needs to go into a place that is isolation, which is what I believe South Tulalip has. I just came from South Tulalip doing the Honoring My Grief. And that facility was absolutely beautiful. I know that, you know, when they first opened, they didn't have any heat and stuff, but now, you know, everything's been ironed out, all the wrinkles have been ironed out. It's such an amazing center. I highly recommend that to everybody and anybody who ever wants to go to treatment. But getting back to, you know, the people that are pre-treatment need to go. Well, we got to phone primary care, and we got to talk to so-and-so. And then the next day we find out, oh, you can't talk to her because she's out of the country. And it's like, what are the chances, you know, of that happening? You know, it doesn't happen very often, but of course, you know, it had to happen, you know, when I was, you know, saying, yeah, you know what, this is quite urgent. I think, you know, we need to have something in place, you know, because I've been in sobriety for 30 plus years. But I know 3 years ago, when I was going through crisis, going through school, in Kispiox, in Hazelton, if I didn't have that 30 plus years of sobriety and in recovery, I probably would have fell off and just said, piss on it, I don't want to go to school. You know, there was no supports in place. You know, you write a letter and you write another letter and you write 3 letters. Oh, just write another letter. You know, we can only write so many letters, you know, and you need to actually, you know, if you're going to sit there as a board member, you should respond and say, hey, yeah, we did receive a letter. At least acknowledge. But like I said, had I not had all of the sobriety and recovery, I probably would have fell off. I think we had started out with 17 people in year 2 and ended up with 12. We ended up having 11 people in year 3 and only 6 or 5 completed. So that's the counselor, holistic healing counselor position. And everyone who came in and talked as our instructor said to us, yeah, we're going to need you guys to come to work. We need you in the field. We need you, you know, on the ground working with the people. 38 years of lived experience. I just did that 3 years just to, with the advanced diploma, just to say, you know what, okay, I'll do it. The funding was available, so I did it. And just like my friend, yeah, you know, back to back, Dean's List. It was a piece of cake. Had I not had to deal with my health, with my hips, I probably would be, you know, completing and doing the bachelor degree right now, the 4th year. I've got ideas. We had project management in health and addictions, and I came up with an idea. It was a 4-year plan for pre-treatment and post-treatment, using elders and having high-risk youth, and you were out on the land working with the people and the elders. And it was all 4 seasons where we were doing regalia making in the winter, to fish in the summer, to hunting in the fall, you know, and song and dance, you know, throughout. I think I only had written it up as $200,000 budget, which was probably way under budget. But I didn't want to sound and appear like, you know, didn't want too much, otherwise they'd go, right? But I got an A+ on that assignment. So, yeah, I just asked all those questions. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So to answer some of your questions, I want to thank you for sharing some of your story and offering suggestions on listing our staff. That's absolutely right. I love that idea. But your question around budgets and takeaways from community, this project is a plus, so it's a net new facility, which means there's no takeaway from any communities. It's a provincial initiative, and we are one of 15 centers that are adding 2 community services. So that out of the 5 regions of First Nations Health Authority, we are one of 3 in the north. And then there's 3 in the interior, 3 in the Vancouver Island, 3 in the Fraser, and 3 Vancouver Coastal also. So there's absolutely 0 takeaway from any of our communities. It's only intended to add services. Around your questions and suggestions on the drug crisis, so we've been really fortunate to work with the Hazelton OAT team, and our nurse Kenesha is trained as an OAT prescriber, so she will be working alongside Kyle Monroe and his team and the Terrace, what's their team? ICT team. So they do support OAT prescribing, OAT services, and there's also harm reduction. But we've been attempting to connect with the Red Road Treatment Center. That's the new one between Gitwangach and Terrace. And they're a new treatment center, hoping to make a good connection with them. And it's something with detox that's really highly needed here in our area to get those users that need to get support getting off drugs before they can enter into treatment. So that's something that we're very vocal about too. So thank you for all your questions and comments. Okay. Oh, okay. So some fun time. We have. Okay, I'll hand it over to.
Hello.
Okay.
We're gonna do the draws. We're gonna do 5. You want to pick a ticket? And you have to be here. Who is it?
Sorry, I guess I should let
she's not here, Deidre.
Deidre, are you in the building? Oh. So apparently she left. You have to be here to win? Okay, second chance. Brandy Gawa. Hello, Brandy. We'll do one of ours for a $50 gift card. Okay. Elaine Ridsdale. Yay. Lindsay, these prizes are from the band. Kispioc band. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Aaron Turner. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're not allowed to put our names in. Dang.
Okay.
Said we could. I'm kidding.
Okay, another one? Okay. Nikki Viget. Nikki, yay! Come on up, Nikki.
She's coming. Go ahead, let's do it.
Charles Morrison. Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And the grand prize.
Okay, one last one. $500? Wow. Can I put my name in?
Yeah.
Well, let's do our little prize first. No, I don't want my name. I'm just joking. Okay. The $50 gas card is Floyd Johnson. Yay. Now the grand prize. Maybe we'll get Kyle or... Thank you. Congratulations. We'll get Sean to draw the grand prize.
Is it Canista? Crystal?
Carista.
Carista, okay. Krista? Krista Olson? All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You have first one here, I guess. Eh? Thank you. Yeah, you guys want?
Congratulations.
No, do you want this? No, there's not anymore. We're done. Are you guys done? No. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions?
Oh my God. it's a medical transportation, his vehicle lift.
Thank you for sharing. Very sorry to hear about what happened to your mother. Initially, my thoughts are around our Indigenous navigator that can help address barriers and gaps with services and making sure that there's plans in place to ensure that there's connections made with your family, your loved ones, care providers, and those that are responsible for ensuring maintenance and equipment and things that are installed in your home. So for our clinic, around what primary care,
I've been trying to talk to a lot of people about this for quite a while, and it's over 2 years since my mom's been gone, and nothing's been done. Even like you say, there's no liability, no insurance, no benefit for anybody for dealing with this, like the stress, like having to, I don't know, especially seeing it on Facebook, seeing your mom laying on the ground, everybody wishing she's okay. I don't know, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah, no, and thank you for sharing. And like Erica says, we do have part of the complement of the staff. We do have 2 social navigators. We have Tanya right now who's been hired. She's wonderful. She's working with the community, but it's part of that, whole holistic model of care where it's like we have other health partners who should also be stepping up. And so we will do what we can do with our social navigation. We have an occupational therapist who could have, whose part of that is to support that sense of support in terms of helping with mobility, helping with those types of needs for our elders and those who have mobility issues. But it's a whole holistic care model where we need to lean into our healthcare partners as well. So that's where our Indigenous navigators come in, our healthcare navigators, in terms of connecting you with the right people and the advocacy, because a lot of times things fall through the cracks and it's just because of a lack of capacity or a lack of people in those roles where they're posted. And so I really want to apologize and say I'm sorry for your experience, because that's horrible. But this is the stuff that we need to hear, so then when we're doing our work, we can also work with our partners like Northern Health and the Ministry of Health to recognize where these gaps are. So. Yeah. Yeah, we'll connect you with Tanya, our social navigator, and we can have some discussions. Okay.
I just want to share in what my nephew was saying. I couldn't even get down the stairs before my hip operation, and that was like that for just about 2.5 years. And it was really challenging because, you know, I lived alone. And I had to go to the band office, you know, and talk to the housing coordinator. And her hands were tied as well. You know, she didn't have it in her budget. I had went and I self-advocated. I got the occupational therapist to write the letter to support me, you know, all the things that would help me, you know, be able to live comfortably in my own home. And, you know, there was no money, there was no resources, you know, because we pulled away from the Gitsan Commission office. You know, there was no extra flow of money at the year end, you know, that they could split it up between, you know, some of the villages that were still with Gitsan Government Commission. And that's the reality. You know, we need to find, you know, dollars, you know, to help the ones that are, you know, stuck at home. The people, you know, that go on the trips even, you know, I just feel horrible, you know, because being a student, you know, it was really challenging for me to be able to, you know, buy a lot raffle, you know, because everybody's going on medical trips. And, you know, I always hear, oh, well, you know what, it's just a supplement, it's just a supplement. What is it at, 27 cents a kilometer? Is it? 28? 29? Do I hear 30? But, you know, even like, I guess going to school, you know, for 3 years, yeah, when they said, sorry, you're denied, you can't come up and come and visit and see your specialist here in Hazelton. You need to go, and because I was in Lillooet at the time, and they said, you can go down and find somebody in Vancouver. Well, you know, I found somebody in Hazelton because, you know, I had somebody in Vancouver that said, oh, you just got to lose weight there, Lorraine. And this was a phone consult. And I went, okay, you know, thank you very much, have a nice day. You know, try to be all polite, you know. But meanwhile, you know, that was a real piss off because he's like, yeah, you know, we'll do another follow-up. And I just went, no, we're not. I'm not going to be following up, you know, just to be told, yeah, I have to lose weight. And I think it's just her bad back. It had nothing to do with my back. But going to see, you know, the specialist, they said, no, you're not going to go see the specialist because we're not paying for you. Well, I said, well, I'm going to see the specialist because, you know what, I know exactly what it is that I need. And I was able to have that connection with that specialist. And she was able to see me. And so, if I waited like I was told here, oh no, you don't have no hip specialist to go see, I would still be, you know, having bone on both my hips. So I can't even imagine the people up north that, you know, are stuck with the services and being told, no, we're not accepting any new patients. And because I did, I got a denial, you know, from, I don't know which doctor in Prince George. And then I just quickly phoned, you know, the nurse practitioner in Lillooet and said, please, you know, send me out a referral to Kamloops. And within 5 months, I got a phone consult. Within 8 months from that phone consult, I had my first hip operation. Another 8 months, I was able to get the second hip operation. But if I would have sat there and just waited, you know, for whatever was going to be offered to me, I would still be sitting here with 2 bum hips. I try just to be polite, you know, because it's the energy that you're putting out and the energy that's going to come back. And I know you guys are just doing, you know, what you can with what you've got. But we need more assistance. It's, you know, people who are on special diets, you know, when they go off on their medical trip, and they can't eat because they can't afford to eat. That's just not good enough. You know, I don't want to be used saying, you know, we have to lie, beg, and steal, you know, to get to what we need, you know, and to get to where we have to be. The people need help. And, you know, even in regards to the pharmaceuticals, I'd rather go and get a massage, you know, with Gerda than, you know, take a bunch of diclofenac. But it's not covered, and I can't afford $50, even though $50 is so cheap. Considering, you know, the chiropractor in Southtown charges $35 for a 5-minute treatment. And I'm not making up these numbers or anything. This is my reality. I want to say, you know, like a good example, you know, was telling the guy that was coming in, I forget what he was doing, he was coming in and talking about, you know, the drug, what's the word? When we did the shingles shot, you know, I was one of the ones that was saying, we need to provide more shingle shots, you know, for the people. Oh yeah, you got to wait till you're 60. You know, to be able to get it. And I said, well, people are getting it when they're 49, 48. You know, we need more prevention. You know, don't wait till we're, you know, like I just had a sick sister that, you know, had to suffer 8 months when she could have just got that shingle shot, you know what, and she would have been, you know, on the mends. You know, no problem. It would have been an easy fix. Certainly wouldn't have been 8 months. So I just happened to be, you know, lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, you know, and I was one of those lucky 15 people that got the first shot and then did how many months later I got the second shot. But how many more other people that are coming up that are younger that don't have that? Like, I just don't want to see, you know, like unnecessary suffering. And we just need to do better for our people. We need to do better for our people.
My name is the land name Neast. And we have trails, and all the trails are grooming trail. Very important. So important. But right now, this is very, very important, and everyone is with me in here, including the front table, because it is important. Because we're all equal, equalitarian, equality of health, security, everything that is to live with. That is very, very important. We have a very nice presentation this morning, or this afternoon, a little while back, and I think we should also discuss the fundamental and the principleship. Where is it coming from? How are we going to look at the financial part of it? Now, this is very, very important. The Aboriginal people in every community, and I think there are 7 of Gitsun reservations under a number being endorsed as a reservation under the Indian Act. This is very, very important. Well, everything we're talking about and what we're going to do and what we want to do is under the Indian Act. And how important that is. Financial part of it. How are we going to pay for it? Who is going to allocate the millions of dollars to be used to construct the very, very important, utmost important dwelling that we need? But we have to. It has to be approved under the Indian Act. That signs and okays the designation of the financial loan, or where it's going to come from. It's so important that it scares me. A band reservation, a band under the Indian Act should never ever owe 1 penny. 1 penny of money. And most of the bands around here owe so much money that it is scary. That would fall under the default payment. There is a policy. In the Indian Act, it's called a default payment, where you no longer manage your own affairs and it's taken over by consultants, professional consultants. And they do the managing. It's called third party. It's very, very important. And if that happens, we no longer be able to receive programs and housing and other things that are included in the infrastructure from the Department of Indian Affairs under the Indian Act. Some bands had owed a lot of money already. For instance, Kisbiak's band owes $12 million. And if they fall under the default payment, that's it. I know one community downriver, Kitwangar, they're under the default policy, and they've been under that policy for 17 years now. And they have a third management for their community. And they're not getting anything else more other than that. So we have to be very, very careful. I don't know where the financial part of this becomes under the fundamental and principleship. That is, we have to know that. And I don't like to see where we joined another band. Because either one of those bands would become under the policy of default payment, and then, of course, you're part of it. The other community is part of it. This is dangerous. Right here, this place here, Anspahyach Band 532, and I got 6 more numbers after that, and that's my number. But the important number is 532. So we have to be very, very careful. We do not have security like the other municipalities and other places, other entities do have. Municipalities, they have a security. They have contingency funding that is there available in case something goes wrong. We don't want to be partners with any other band because they're individual. We're all individual. Each band has an entity of its own by number. So we're not going to be partners with the Switzerland or Woodshed or anybody. It should be all individual because of the Indian Act. We are under that Indian Act at all times. Anytime. We do need these facilities, but we have to have a security. We don't need to be able to be default in a default payment where we will be under the agreement with the infrastructure. You can lay out some beautiful infrastructures. You can do anything if you make these agreements. Now that's very important to understand. We cannot be partners with any other band because they have a different number under the Indian Act. It all has to be individual in order to safe keep. So I like what's going on. We do need those facilities. There are lots of facilities we don't have around here. I think the nearest facility for overdosed or whatever the case may be, people that need rehabilitation, they have to go to Vancouver Island or close 30 miles out of Vancouver. I forgot the name of that little place. That's the only place where they can be rehabbed. Around here, it's just recovery. Do it on your own. Change the way you live. So I just like to mention this to the community. Where are we going? Who is going to finance this? And without being under a designated point where we will be held responsible for third management, if the case may be, and that cuts off the rest of the infrastructure that was available to the community. I'd like to thank you people for doing what you are doing, which is great, but it's getting worse. And this is federal government. And we wouldn't even talk, we're not going to even talk about BC government. They're doing all kinds of crazy things. They have now militarized the province. They have now what they call, I can't remember that, but anyway, it's dangerous here, right here in this BC. It's a good thing that we don't have nothing to do with the provincial government. I'm talking about the federal government. They're just as bad. Now, the provincial governments are coming out with other different things and using these things to take your money. And that is allowed. Illegal, but allowed, they can do that. So this I would like to leave to the community people, that unless we change how we elect our people in the band council, we cannot do too much about it as long as it's used the same policy that they're using now. I'd like to thank you for listening to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to say a few words because I always had my hand up after him. So I want to bring some clarity to this project. It's not going to cost any money to the communities that are part of this project. This is a tripartite process. So the First Nations Health Authority took the health transfer over 10 years ago. And how that transfer happened is it's a partnership between the province of British Columbia, the province of Canada, and the First Nations people here in British Columbia. We have 203 bands. This particular project is a response to what the non-Indigenous people have. They have primary care networks. So when First Nations voiced the concern, why do we not have those opportunities? This became the response in health, is to have these primary care initiatives. And Erica spoke earlier that there are 3 pilot projects here in the north. And this pilot project represents the Northwest region. The monies that are coming for these projects come out of the coffers of Canada and BC. They do not come out of the health centers. They do not come out of any of the money we currently use. These are specially designated monies. And there will be no issue around third party. It's a tripartite agreement where we all have to make a commitment and see things through. So that's where the funds are coming from. And it's not taking away from any of the current programs we have. And there's always the opportunity to get more resources. But in order to do that, we also have to make some political accords. And to me, my teachings and my upbringing are that the Gitxsan and Wet'suwet'en have had those accords for generations. And that's why we thought in our wisdom as health centers, we've always worked together. And the more of us that put our stuff together, the more we can do. And the primary purpose of this project is to bring healthcare closer to your community. It's not just going to sit in one place. All of these staff members are already out in community. And the more staff members we hire, the more we can put on top, was my granny's words, of what we already do. Because as health centers, we have a very limited budget. And so this is meant to add and to improve our health outcomes as Indigenous people. So I want people to understand that part. It's not costing money. It's not taking away from anything that currently is. It's adding. And it's creating closer to home so that we don't have to travel to Vancouver, to Prince George. The specialists will be coming here. And we need to prepare in our communities. One of the biggest challenges we have in bringing people in is a place for them to live. We need to look at how we could solve that problem. We can do it collectively. Whether we have homes that are on different parts of the territories that allow people to come in and deliver the service to us, closer to home. It allows, having a navigator allows extra people for us as health centers to say, we've got someone that can spend the time that you need to get the service you need, to answer the questions that you have. So it's meant to be something that we improve. And it is a forum of reconciliation with the Crown, because I want our health outcomes to be the same as the non-natives. And it's not that way now. So what steps can we do collectively to address that? Gebet.
I'd just like to thank you all for taking the time to, present all of this information to us and share the layout and, the services and the staff that are already out in community. And I do receive those services myself. And anyone can go and sign up at the new ICBC, or the old ICBC office in Newtown, where the district office used to be. And the only change that will be difficult for people who have trouble with change would be that you will no longer be receiving services at the Wrench Doctor's Clinic. You'll be receiving them right in your own community. And, the layout I'm really impressed with, because it's such a condensed, high needs. There's so many different programs, and so all of the the necessary components. You know, it's well thought out, and I have seen a few of the plans before the changes were, like these final changes were made, and I really like it. And you know, this is a really big opportunity for our people to move forward, and it is difficult with the history of how our people have been treated, and you know, basically with residential school and treated less than, and with our people having trouble in asking and receiving help. It's very important that they see this as, you know, a bright, shining light that we can move forward with. And with the team that you do have already working, I am so impressed and so thankful that those staff are who they are. Like, just the care and commitment that they have to see the overall picture in people's lives, and not just individually, but like in community, like family. It's all necessary for your health care. And I think, just wait, I have to see what else I had. You know, just that the staff, you know, that you guys do have, they listen. That's the biggest thing, they listen. I have experienced myself firsthand and seen a lot of really terrible, like, horror stories within our healthcare system in many different hospitals throughout BC. And I am very pleased that there will be traditional healers, because a lot of our people, they get their gifts dismissed as, you know, mental illness, and the traditional healers are really going to be helping with that. And you know, I've heard a lot about the drug and alcohol addictions, and I agree, like, we do need more, but at the same time, we don't have the capacity to follow any real, I guess, the government's stipulations on what is needed. Like, traditionally, you know, we would just go do it out in the bush by ourselves without anyone's help. There'd be like 1 or 2 trusted people that are with them. And you know, just with residential school, the importance of consent, like, and information. Not everybody understands the reasoning for the line of questioning, where it might feel intrusive, or, you know, they might withhold some information, not understanding that they're blocking their own health care, and not understanding, like, proper forms and, you know, ways of communicating, and who needs to be communicated with, like, for different things. It's kind of, you'll see it in all communities that you visit, but this is really good, and it's, you know, good change, and I'm really looking forward to the final outcome. And just for some of you that don't understand the difference, as we all know, Kispiock's band owns the building, but First Nations Health Authority is going to be using the building for their facility, is what I understand it as. So it's not run by our band. That's a very important distinction. And I think you guys should open with that, just so you know. Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to stay to the end, but I missed my grandbaby's birthday.
Thank you. Oh, loud, eh? Just want to, like Brandy, just say my thank yous to First Nations Health Authority, and the team and the committee and, you know, the architect. I think that's going to be a beautiful building out of the space that's there. To me, when I see the color of it, it's just so awesome, the entrance. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to your team and your employees, the staff. I mean, it's much needed service in our area. As you all know, it'll probably take 2 or 3 weeks sometimes to get an appointment, and maybe this can help out Wrench. You know, I think that's the whole purpose, but nevertheless, I mean, there's going to be misunderstandings. There's going to be, these are all legit questions that people are asking, and I really like the clarity from Bev, and just to be open and honest and say this is what it is and that's how it works. Not everybody understands that as how it is, and it's never talked about until it's brought up. So once again, I just want to say thank you. That's an awesome, you know, the architect did a really good job on creating the space, and yeah, I too look forward to 2027, the grand opening. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a full place. Like I said, it's much needed, and it's going to benefit all in Gitxsan and Wet'suwet'en Nation. And it's just a start. I could see this thing building and getting bigger, you know, but this is something that is needed, and it's coming, and I'm just excited. So thank you everybody for coming out, and I wish they all stayed, and you know, but it is what it is, and yeah, I look forward to July 27 and yeah, the grand opening or whatever it may be, and I hope Mel's wagon is still there, and it's history really. But thank you again. I really appreciate it from you know, as a member of our community. Yeah, it's going to benefit. Thank you so much.
Round two. Okay, my point is that you know, I'm a residential school survivor. I was being in prison for 6 years, and when I went to Vancouver IRS workshop, I really didn't like it because they didn't have the survivors up there telling their story. There's one elder. I don't know if you can read my T-shirt. Yeah, I got this, then I got a drum, and he said this, that he wanted to talk, but you know what? It was time. It was really sad, but the good thing is him and I went to have coffee together and we talked about it. Then I collect feathers in the summertime. I got thousands of feathers. I give them out, and I brought a whole pile with me when I went to Vancouver. And somebody made me a box. It called Mel's Feathers, real beautiful box. And I went to when I went to the workshop, and I was kind of disappointed, but the thing is, I met some elders from Ontario and listened to their stories, and there was just a handful of Gitxsan people went down. And my question is, we always put a bug in the people's ears for, you know, they have a statue of World War II, World War I, the Holocaust, all the people, 9/11. How come they don't do nothing for us? The survivors. You know, you want to talk about residential school, you got to ask a survivor. That's where you get the answers from. The number one, because of the government took 100 years later to make the apology. Stephen Harper, he was just on TV not too long ago. They awarded him Honor of Canada. Well, that's because he made that apology. And then you see a wall, probably from that corner, right to the killer whale right there, of all the survivors. And I didn't even know my mom went to residential school in the 30s. And nobody talks about it. You know, I like talking about what I learned and what I didn't learn and how they treated us. They treated us like animals, you know? And that lady that just left, her older sister was one of the survivors. And I remember we ran away and we got caught, and we got tortured when we come back. They caught us in Clinton. We had $8 each in our pockets and a lunch they made us. And I told that other guy, I said, just tell him that you're going to go to the next town. Don't tell him we're going to Hazelton, just to the next town. That's because we look suspicious that, oh, these two young guys are going to Hazelton and we're in Ashcroft. But we got caught in Clinton by an Indian agent. So when we got back to residential school, we got in a dorm, it's about 40 people. And they waited till everybody got there before bedtime, and then we got tortured. 2 of us. And we still talk about it today. You know, we're going to run away again, but it's a horror story. And I'm really glad you guys info, and I'll tell my boss when I get home. I'm not recording it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you for sharing your story, Mel. I think it's time that we finish our work here for the evening, and I'd just like to share a few thoughts, just listening to everybody's stories and suggestions and having really great questions. Hasagay Dumdoex for having us tonight. Thank you again to the Ansbayach Simgiget against Chief and Council. Thank you, Blanca, for helping us arrange tonight. A lot of things that I've heard tonight were surrounding cultural safety and humility, and that's one of the main reasons why we're doing what we're doing, is to address the things like anti-racism in the healthcare system, the murdered and missing women's recommendations, the residential school survivors, 60 Scoop, day school, and also UNDRIP and DRIPA, which is the United Nations Declaration and Rights of Indigenous People. So those are the reasons that we're here tonight, and what we've heard is a lot of good feedback about the services that we had already started, which include our 3 amazing doctors, and that's one thing that you'll experience if with your initial intake with our staff, and then also your first appointment with our doctors. It takes longer. It takes up to an hour on your first appointment, and that's because they go through your whole health history and who you are and what they need to know about you to support you, to help you get well. And that's what we're building, is a wellness system. And we're counteracting the sickness system, which is what we're all familiar with the seems like never-ending cycle of going to the emergency room or just trying to get into a walk-in clinic, or when you do get an appointment in 3 to 6 weeks, it's only 15 minutes and then they shoo you away. That's what we're working against, and that's what we're trying to correct in our own Gitsan and Wet'suwet'en way of thinking. I've heard about tonight about long-term care, and that's something that's really dear to me, and something that maybe in the future that would be something that we would want to consider expanding on, but way far into the future. We're just in our infancy right now. Another thing I heard was working with the Rinch Hospital and the doctors, and they've been our partners right from the start. We've worked on the service plan with them and alongside them, and they support us, and we support them, so it's a partnership that we're really fortunate to have. We've heard about people that have come through with their traumas and their stories, and that's also something that our team takes the time to learn and listen about who you are and where you need the support. Our immediate plan right now is to provide spoke services in our 3 communities that we already have established services in. But what we've heard tonight is that our interim space will be here in Anspayoch, and we're really very grateful for the partnership that we have with the Anspayoch Chief and Council. We're very grateful that this will be our home until we have our permanent home in Old Hazelton. So we have a few years, and we'll continue to work out of our spoke communities, but we'll also have this really amazing hub. There's always the intention to bring services closer to home, and that's going to be our long-term service delivery, is having that ability to be in community, but ability to also have the hub. So again, thank you to everybody that stayed right till the end. And we are very mindful that we have the loss in Gitwangach, and that we want to honor the other, the upriver Alugi Gets. So we will plan on having another engagement session out in the Gates side. So that will be in the spring. But again, thank you all for staying till the end of the night. And with that, Floyd, did you have a comment? Okay. And then we'll close it off in a good way.
Good evening. I won't be long. I just had a couple of comments, remarks, suggestions. The building looks amazing. I can't wait to see it, and that's pretty exciting. With that being said, it's all the way out in Old Hazelton. And with some of our elders, our young people, single parents, or somebody who's just sick, it's not easy to get around. There's some people in the community of Kispioks that can't make it over to the health center because they just can't, the road's too slippery, or it's too cold outside, or it could be too hot in the summer. It's just something to take into consideration, and I see all your departments and the staffing. I don't know if I missed it, but if there's, in my experience, when I volunteered for the fire department, if there is I had to respond to any call for the elders, they were in a panic, they were afraid, scared, shaking. Just shaking like a leaf, because there were strangers in their house and they didn't know who they were. And to calm that down, I just started speaking Gitsan to them, spoke in our own language, calmed them right down. She put her arms out for a hug, and she wouldn't let me go. And that's what helped calm her down for the paramedics, the ambulance attendants. So to have somebody in there with, somebody that people can relate to, and a professional though, not just anybody. That's, they have a liaison in the Rinch Memorial, and everybody knows who she is, so it makes you comfortable. Just some food for thought for you. Thank you.
Thank you. She's going to close. Doig Satanism. So we have Lorraine offering to close Skittasit for us. Thank you.
I was just asking her, make sure that I got the correct name. Wilpmut is how we say it in our side. So if everybody would like to stand up, please. Grandmothers, grandfathers, for sacred directions, I thank you for this beautiful day. I thank you for this gathering here in Anspaya. Thank you for the Wilpmut people that come in and do their presentation, share their good words. I bless each and every one of them and their families, also the ones that come out and share their good stories and their concerns. I thank you, Creator, for all the continued blessings that we have. I ask for you to keep on watching over the people, help them to be strong, help them to be courageous, and help them to ask for what it is that they need, Creator. I thank you, Creator, for just the whole gathering that we had. Continue to guide us, protect us, and direct us in a good way. With that, I say all my relations aho.